last round of applause for that amazing My name is Tori Johnson. I was the director of this here production. I am also the program... Thank you. I'm also the program manager of the Young Professionals Conservatory. Everyone you saw in this cast were all a part of YPC. And if you're interested in joining YPC, we have flyers out in the lobby, we have auditions coming up, and we have more info on our website, sactheater.org. We will have a brief Q&A in about 5 minutes, so if you want to turn to the person next to you and brainstorm any questions you had about the show, our interpretation of the show, or about the history of Terezin or World War II, you can start thinking of your questions, and the cast will be out in about 5 minutes. So thank you.
You're in child 4. You suck.
I'm Mahapula Lockett. This is my first year in YPC also, and I played Child 1.
Hi, I'm Emma Huffman. This is my 4th year in YPC, and I played Irina Sinkova.
I'm Eliana. This is my 3rd year in YPC, and I played Raya.
Okay, hi, I'm Sophia DeFelice. I played Mother or Anna in Glazarova. And oh right, this is my 2nd year in YPC. Sorry.
My name is Jake Yancey. It's my 4th year in YPC, and I played Hansa Kosha.
My name is Jaquez. This is my 4th year in YPC, and I played Father, Soldier, and Ensemble.
So just a brief history of the show. This show, I Never Saw Another Butterfly, is based off of a book of poetry under the same title. And those poems were all written by the children of Terezin because they did actually have a secret education program led by a teacher who smuggled in art supplies for them. And they were able to keep a record of all of the art projects and the poems they were able to write. And in the back of the book, one of our cast members always has it with him. He plays the other cast loudspeaker. And in the back of the book, they have all of the names of the children who were part of that education program. And all of the names that the loudspeaker said were in the back of that book. And one of the names that's in there is Raya and Glazarova, after liberation, returned to Prague. Whereas all of the other names say perished at Auschwitz, perished at Auschwitz, perished at Auschwitz. So that inspiration, perished at Auschwitz. So I think the inspiration for this play was why this one girl, why is she the one that survived, and what's her story? So that's where this play comes. It's written by Celeste Responti. So with that, we'll open it up to any questions you have about anything. Yes?
I'm interested, what was it like to go to such a dark place in history every day? How did that weigh on you, and like what was your experience like?
Well, at the very beginning of the show, Tori told us that it was going to be some deep diving, and that every time we walked into the room, we could take this burden and wear it. And when we left the room, to take it off, put it on a shelf, and take care of ourselves, so that we could dive back into it every day, but make sure to let it go and live our normal lives.
Mm.
Yeah, Tori made it very important at the beginning of the show that our number 1 priority was making sure we were taking care of ourselves, because you can't really do the story justice if you're not you can't take care of the story if you can't take care of yourself. And so yeah, every day we dived so deep into the show and the history, and then once rehearsal wrapped up, we packaged it and put it away. That way we could really be there and present for it when we opened it again the next day.
You have to be careful how you treated yourself in this show. This show is very spiritual, I would say, messing with a lot of people who were here before, a lot of people who have walked this earth and did not, it was just, it wasn't us. We weren't doing this for us.
Yeah.
It's big for us.
For you.
I'd say that quite a few people in the cast had family members that were alive during the time and were Jewish during that time. So it would probably weigh harder on those people. Also, like there are moments in the play where ask, or I honestly can't talk ever.
You got it. You got it.
Words. No, I just can't words.
I think we understood where you were going with it. But yeah, and I think another thing too was we were really focusing on the resilience and the hope and the strength of these characters throughout the show, and not just what they were going through and the pain of that. So, but how they got past that, and in that it was almost inspiring and hopeful and strengthening for me. It's like, wow, if these people can do this, then I can like get up in the morning and do my day. I'm fine. But yeah. More questions? Uh-huh.
So, we saw quite a few wet eyes up there, which really added a lot of emotion and feeling to the production. And I thought I might ask if anyone or if you could maybe share how they're an actor or actress remembering and delivering lines at the same time showing such feeling.
I feel like getting the lines down is about 25% of the battle, and the emotion and the acting is the other 75%. When you get the lines down, like, yeah, it's good, but then it's time to put yourself, and then you tap into that source of energy where you put into yourself, into those lines. So the lines didn't even matter. It's all about the emotion that you put into them, which is why you saw so many of us with wet eyes, you know, a little something at the end, you know. It was just not only us, but the sources we were tapping into to get
Yeah,
there.
we weren't even thinking about the lines. Like, it was just the situation. It was like how we're feeling. Good, yeah.
We did a lot of character work, really diving in and understanding our characters more than just delivering lines, to really try and understand our character's experience. And in a way, we sort of become our character and react as our character would.
And in another way, like, I know that I was having trouble with it in the beginning. I was saying to Tori that, like, it would be in my eyes, but they wouldn't fall down. But then, like, it actually really helped. What Tori said is that you have to just, like, take a breath and just not be tense and relax, and that's what I do, and it just really helps, I think. And just being, like, fully in the scene. And like Jacob said, like, once you know your lines and blocking, like, the back of your hand, like, you just don't have to think about it anymore, which is, like, really amazing, and you can just be fully in the show.
In the words of an amazing performer, the art of theater is not acting, but reacting.
Okay,
What he
Shakespeare. Okay.
That was Bella Pearl, so
She's still alive. She's just backstage.
She's back there.
Yeah, I focused a lot about how the emotion is the sweat of trying to get something off of the other. So not focusing on trying to, a lot of young actors are like, I want to be really sad during this scene, so I'm going to tense my body and try to act sad. And that's when you get like, I feel like tears are coming, but they're not really real yet. And it's emotions when they're just released from working so hard at trying to get something, and they just release out of you. That's when you get the gushing tears. And so just let that come out of the hard work of trying to get your objective. So yeah, we really focused on that. Yes?
When you walk away from this experience, what are you going to remember most about it?
This show honestly changed my life, and I will never think about some things the same way again. Like, I will always, like, appreciate the fact that I have food and shelter and clothing, and that these people didn't. And my life is going to be a different thing because I was in this production.
100%. Yeah, something I'm going to take away from the show. I mean, there's so many lessons in the show and so many things that are important to hold on to. But one of the ones I personally connected with is just to not take things for granted.
Yeah.
Because we do, so much of us do, I do, all the time. And I know I shouldn't. And this show has really taught me in a different way how important it is to realize what you have.
Did you want to go? I learned that it's a jungle out here, and it really is, like, still to this day. that people have been fighting. If it weren't for those people who fought for us in the past, who knows where we would be today. For all those people who resisted the oppressing forces in the past, like maybe if they were successful in your eyes or not, like we're all able to still be here together in the same space. So
Crazy.
And something I asked the cast a lot during the rehearsal process was, why this now? And I was like, your answer does not have to agree with my answer, but you have to know why you're telling the story to a modern audience and why this story still pertains to today. So they had to be thinking about that throughout the process. And so I think because of that, it drew on a deeper chord for them. Yeah. More questions? I see a hand. Oh, yes.
I was wondering if the actors and actresses knew how bad that situation, that period of history was before studying, prepping for this play.
Some of us more than others.
I think that a lot of us, well, like at the beginning of rehearsal, before we started with the blocking and like all of the stuff that we have to start with, we did a lot of historical, like we dove into like everything, and we spoke with a few different people. Someone's here today, but we did a lot of work with things like that to really understand everything before, like even starting to take on kind of the play, and so it helped a lot of us, I think.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm asking is, were you surprised or were eyes opened?
Oh, my eyes were open.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
yes.
I realized when someone was coming to talk to us, they said the average person who was in the ghetto in Terezin had about 180 calories a day, which is like a little yogurt a day. So I'm never gonna complain that I'm hungry again. Yeah.
What was that last thing you said? I'm so sorry.
I was asking if you all were surprised.
I was definitely surprised. It was rough reading through the show. Rough learning about the history and like human cruelty and what one man is capable of and how much one man can do to shock the world and keep that rippling throughout time. Like it's never going to end.
Or
that
woman
that
who
really
was-
shocked me.
Or woman.
What?
said man.
Or a woman.
Yeah, the first week and a half was really about opening our eyes to, and me too. I had to learn when we had different survivors, like Alex Groff is here. He was one of the survivors who came to talk to us, so thank you so much. I was asking questions along with the students and making sure that I fully was aware of what I was taking on as a director too. And I think the history has so much depth and so much complexity that it's hard. We rehearsed this in a month, and it's hard to understand the whole breadth of this history and anti-Semitism in just 1 month. So we the first couple of weeks were just absorbing all of that information as a cast and crew, and then tried to do our best to portray it. Yeah.
Kids did an absolutely wonderful job, and I'd like to congratulate them and thank them for remembrance and for inspiration in both ways. And I thought you did it beautifully. Thank you.
More of a, I thought the announcer, the Nazi announcer, how he switched to being a younger person to the younger was wearing a mask. That symbolism, might want to explain that.
Someone want to take that on?
Can you ask it one more time?
The progression of the loudspeaker.
Oh yeah, I could do the progression.
Yeah.
So we had the loudspeaker go through 4 different costume changes to symbolize that is what we're talking about. Yeah, so 4 different costume changes to symbolize the 4 different, parts of how someone can, start off as just a regular person and show that this could be your average regular person and how they get from that regular person to someone like Hitler. We start off with our actor who is the loudspeaker in sort of a Boy Scout uniform. He's got a red sash, he's got a little hat, and then that's when he is, sort of a Boy Scout. He's just trying to do good in his community. He's just trying to help out. and he's following the laws of his country. The next one, he's got another satchel this time, and this one time he's a little bit more louder, a little bit more scary. He's a patriot. He's a nationalist. In his third costume change, he's got a blindfold, and that means, that was symbolizing how he's the blind follower. He's come to this point where he's just accepting the rules that are imposed upon him, and he's not really thinking about what it is he's doing and the consequences that, he's bringing out in the world around him. And finally, the fourth one, he's the dictator. And that is probably when I saw some of you guys cringing away. He was very scary. Jeremiah did that really well. It's when,
Oh my God,
the tyrant. He's the tyrant. He has become...
Yeah, I have heard this play hundreds of times, and he still scares me every time.
Every time.
During his last part, when he's up there screaming all the names, and I have time to go back to the dressing room, and I'm like, I can still hear it. It's so loud.
Like, we can't hit the drum hard enough to match his energy.
I almost broke the drum today trying to...
And to go a little bit off that, it's like what I said is like 25% is learning the lines. After he learned the lines, we didn't know, we were not prepared either. One night he just switched, like the switch went off in him where that emotion overcame him. He just went off like that. And I was like, oh.
Well, Liz Igra, who is the president and founder of the Central Valley Holocaust Educators Network, she had a field trip with the students that we kind of collaborated on together, and we were talking about that subject, and she was telling me about this progression, and because I was like, I don't really know what to do with the loudspeaker. I think is it too much to show the Nazi flag? Is that, offensive to people? And she was like, first of all, you have to show the Nazi flag in a play about the Holocaust because it wouldn't have happened without them, so you can't hide away from that fact. I was like, okay. Note taken. And then she's like, how many times does the loudspeaker show up on stage? I was like, well, I think 4 times. She's like, well, why don't you show that progression? So, we really went through that because she was really helpful with the psychology and the politics behind why the Holocaust happened. I think from the stories of the survivors, you're able to get the emotion from it, but she's really good about understanding all the particulars that were happening behind it, and it is very complex. And so, yeah, that came from her. More questions? Anything at all? Yes.
Do you have any plans to take this out to schools? I think it'd be great.
They come to us, actually.
Yeah, so we had 3 school shows. This cast had 2, and then our other cast had 1 school show.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a learning experience, not only for I think the audience, but for us as well.
Yeah.
Because telling the story every time you find something new about it and something that you learn as with the audience, and so yeah, I think it was really important to do it for schools and for.
Yeah, I think teenagers take things in a little bit differently, so it was interesting to see how they reacted versus an audience like yourselves.
Yeah, we did Q&As with a lot of the students, and most of them were just kind of in shock. And I think a reason why, to the survivors, it seems like it means so much that these students are putting this story up is because this is kind of the last generation of people who are actually going to be able to speak to survivors. And it seemed that a lot of the school shows that we had, these students had no idea. We had a question that was like, was Terezin a real place? After the show. I was like, yeah, this was all real. I should have said that before maybe, but this all really happened. And so it was really cool to be able to talk about the show afterwards and go into depth about things that students should definitely still be learning today. It's good that they got that opportunity. Yeah.
Will any of you go to Prague and go to Terezin outside of Prague?
Oh, I'd love to.
Definitely, if I ever have the chance, I would love to. Yeah.
What was the question?
Going to Prague.
Yeah, I have a friend who went there, so I got those pictures, some of the pictures out there. She went there and she visited Auschwitz and Warsaw, and she got some first-hand pictures. They still have the sign up that says "Work makes us free," so it was interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, all of the projects outside are done by the students. At the beginning of the process, I kind of gave them a prompt that you could do a research paper, you could do an art piece, You could do a PowerPoint, whatever you want to do just has to be approved by me. And whatever inspires you about the show or you want to dig into more about the show, that's not in context of this theater piece. And they went above and beyond what I asked them to do. And so make sure you definitely check out those projects. We have to get things wrapped up because there's a rehearsal going on above us, but thank you all so much for coming to see the show today and have a good rest of the day.